we actually had Seagram's come out and show us how to make quality alcohol. And that's how we got into the beverage alcohol business.
And one of the rules of business is that it's risky to have one client only. But for many years, I think you mentioned maybe as long as 4 years, and it's mentioned in the story of the company, it had basically one client, and so you had to make that client happy, didn't you?
That's right. And then when the contract was over, we had no business. And I remember one of my very good friends and lifelong accomplice, Joe Kerrigan, and I traveled all over the country. And we contacted every single person that had a rectifying license. And there were times when, if we would not have had an order for a tank car of alcohol the next day, we'd have had to shut the distillery down. But we were able to eventually sell enough beverage alcohol to keep our business going.
Sir, do you remember the kind of sales pitch that you and Joe used on these customers? You must have been pretty persuasive.
Pretty much money, for one thing. I mean, we were, as I say, we were able to produce it a good deal cheaper than anybody else in the business could produce it. That was a very important thing. But also the quality of the product. We always had developed a quality product, and that in turn was a very valuable selling tool. Those two things, I think, were our major selling.
So you've been historically known as rather persuasive. How did you get these skills of persuasion? Was this something inherited, or did you learn this in school?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it came fairly natural to me. You mentioned the different ways. I think you mentioned the ways that the person becomes an entrepreneur.
Yes.
It didn't happen exactly in that case to me, although I agree that the reasons you gave were very persuasive, namely vision and risk and resilience and reward. I would have to add a few to that, which I think was a great part of my success. One of them was optimism. It's amazing, all through this process, no matter how tough things would get, I was very optimistic about the future and knew the next day would be good. Also, I was a good teacher, and I liked people. And matter of fact, I, for example, have taught Sunday school for over 60 years. I love to talk to people, and I think that had, I never, speaking of entrepreneurship, I was never what I would consider a leader type. In other words, I was not the type of leader that thought I knew the right way and told people what to do. I was always more of a salesman. I was more of a teacher. And that's why I would also add that to the entrepreneurship idea.
But that's a different style of leadership.
Yes, it is.
Salesman and teacher.
Definitely.
You don't have to stand up on a podium necessarily.
No, but I just, what would happen is, if I knew that was the right thing for us to do, I would sell my executives on why I thought that. And then we all went forward believing in the same thing.
So you were a thought leader.
That's exactly right. And never what I would ever call a standard leader. And in fact, when we were analyzed one time, one of these analysts of what you are, they were very surprised because my profile was not that of a leader.
Huh.
It was a profile of a salesman. And I think that's really how I ran the company.
I did hear the story, though, that you were a pretty good debater in college. Is that true?
That's true. In fact, I think it was perhaps the most important thing I got out of my chemical engineering education at Case Western Reserve was I really I started debating. In fact, I don't believe we ever lost a negative debate. I had a very good partner, and that frankly took away my concern for speaking. And from that point on, I've never worried about making a speech. And I think that also was quite important, yes.